Hey guys, Sebastian here from Walgreens Vintage. Here we are again with another comparison. This time we'll put a Turok traditional clean against a vintage deluxe. Turoks are made here in the US, they're hand wired in California, and they sound really good. And these are pretty much as high in quality as you can get. They're all made with premium components. You can get them with a different assortment of finishes. You're pretty much guaranteed to get one of the best amplifiers in the market when you get a Turok. These two amps are rooted on classic Fender designs. However, they're so different that I wouldn't put them on the same category. So let's start out by talking about the traditional clean, which is the one that I have right behind me. This amp, it's pretty much a loud pedal platform. Think of a classic 60s blackface sound with a lot of headroom, with a few added extra features that obviously makes it a lot more modern and reliable. You have a 3-band EQ, a gain control, an effects loop. You have a mix and basically, or a send and a return for the reverb control. And on top of that, you have 3 dip switches that allow you to control the low end, the mid frequencies, and a bright switch. It's not the amp for the player that wants to get distortion out of the amp. Even though it has a gain control, it doesn't really saturate. It pretty much just gets fatter, but it doesn't really break up unless you just dime it all the way up. And the one that we have behind here, it's 100 watts. So, you know, as you can imagine, you really have to dime it to get that sound. You can also bring it down to 50 watts, but even then, it's still pretty loud. So it's one of these amps that is meant for you to enjoy the headroom of it. The way it responds and you know, plays with you, it's kind of like very squishy in a way. You get a lot of spank. I could imagine that the type of player that likes the sounds of John Mayer or Stevie Ray would like to go with an amp like this. Since you know you have all this massive clean headroom, you would get all of your drive sounds from overdrives. In the case of John Mayer, for example, you could get a TS10 and a clone, and that would pretty much be the sound. It's an amp that loves Strats, even though with all the controls that you get for the sound, you can make it sound equally as good for humbuckers. And I love it, you know, a lot. On the other hand, the Vintage Deluxe, although it's also based on a traditional Fender design, it's a very different amp. I would say that this gives you what a classic Deluxe reverb gives you, plus a lot more. It has many cool features that really take this amp, to the next level, really. So the first thing is its power. It's 40 watts instead of the 20 watts that you find on a traditional Deluxe reverb. But here, what you can do is that you can basically through a half power switch on the back, go from 40 watts all the way down to 20. One of the things that I miss sometimes out of my Deluxe reverb is when I'm playing outdoors and I want a little bit more headroom, the amp really just doesn't have it. At 20 watts, it's just not loud enough. But I do enjoy getting power amp distortion when I'm playing at a club, for example. I feel like this amp is able to do both. It has the clean headroom that you need to play outdoors without needing to be mic'd up. However, if you flip it down to 20, it'll saturate just like a classic Deluxe would. You also have a lot more gain on tap that you can then control the volume with the master. And then one cool feature that it has is the fact that you can get a different tone stack sound. And what this tone stack does is sort of like give you a solo boost in a way. It tightens up the low end, it gives you a little bit more gain, and the mids become more rounder, more nasally. Kind of like what happens when you put a tube screamer in front of a blackface Fender, and it's a great sound. And the fact that it comes already built in means that you can play an entire gig and have both your rhythm, edge of breakup type of sound, and your lead sound just from the amp, which is a great option. You don't get as many tonal switches as you do in the traditional clean. You only get a bright switch here, although you get a 3-band EQ. And one thing you get here that you don't get on the other one is a tremolo circuit, which by the way sounds amazing. But I gotta say that my favorite feature about this amp is the texture switch. This texture switch allows you to go from the more modern, less forgiving two-rock sound to more of a spongier, more compressed vintage feel. And this is one of my favorite things about old blackface Fender amps, the fact that they have this sweet compression and a slight overdriven sound that you can just hide behind them a little bit more. Not that the more revealing sound of a traditional two-rock is not good, but sometimes you want to get away with a little bit more, and this switch allows you to go back and forth between those two things. It's kind of hard to demonstrate on camera, it's more of a feel thing, but it definitely makes the biggest difference. The Vintage Deluxe, I would say, is for the player that likes to get most of their gain out of their amp, or if anything, push an amp that is on the edge of breakup with an overdrive and get the extra gain from that. Whether with the traditional clean, you have to rely mainly on pedals to get all of your gain. I'm more of the kind of player that likes to get, again, amp distortion. So the Vintage Deluxe would be my preferred one, although I love the traditional clean. It's one of the best sounding clean amps out there in my opinion. They're equally as good as far as like quality, and obviously they're both hand built and hand wired here in the US. So you're getting very premium products. It's just a matter of whether you want a loud pedal platform or an amp that allows you to get a little bit more gain. Now, if you're wondering about what guitar I'm using, this is a Fender Custom Shop 1959 reissue Journeyman Stratocaster. I love this guitar. We got two of them that are identical, one to the other, and this one is the one that spoke to me. So it has just a little bit more spank, and the weight is just right, the neck feels right. I love the Journeyman finish. It's just kind of like, it's the perfect amount of aging in my opinion, especially around the neck, which it just makes it super smooth and fast, and it's very comfortable to play. And this aged shell pink color is just gorgeous. I love it, it feels amazing. And in my opinion, it's a perfect companion for these style of amps. So yeah, let's go ahead and play for a bit. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to find out more about this gear, the links will be down below in the description. Head over to wildgracevintage.com so you can see all the things that we have to offer. I'm talking about guitars, cars, coffee, and a lot more. If you guys want to support this channel, give us a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and follow us on Instagram at @wildgracevintage for more content like this. My name is Sebastian. Till next time.